Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for hanging with me on this Wednesday. And if you've went out of your way to like, comment, or subscribe, thank you for doing that. All right, the FG knot, I'm sure you've heard of it. It is a way to tie your braid to fluorocarbon. And originally, this was a spinning rod thing. I think a lot of people that fish a spinning rod use braid to fluorocarbon. That's pretty much the only way I've fished a spinning rod my entire life, other than like a Shad Rap or something. If I'm drop shot or Nico rig, shaky head, Ned rig, any of those type techniques, it's always braid to fluorocarbon. I typically do like a 12-foot fluorocarbon leader. And I've never really fooled with the braid to fluorocarbon with any of my bait casting gear because I'm just not that guy. I don't like to jump on these trends. To me, they're gimmicks, and until you make them work for yourself, that's all they are. And I've always been a big flipper. I like to fish shallow cover. I come from Florida, so you get every option to go flip grass, to go flip wood. There's so many different ways to fish shallow cover, and typically in Florida, the way the weather sets up, you know, we have a very long spawning period, and then it's tough. It's summertime fishing the rest of the year. And that's pretty much it in Florida. You have spring and you have summer, and there's really no fall or winter. You're just fishing spawning fish, pre-spawn, post-spawn, and all of that. And then you have summer. So flipping is a huge deal 12 months out of the year there. So when I'm flipping grass, it's all about braided line. And when I'm flipping wood, it's all about fluorocarbon. And they both have their perks and they both have their downside. The downside when you're flipping fluorocarbon into wood is that it can break. You have a lot of stretch in your line, so the fish kind of can pull you around a little bit more. Braid, the downside of braid in wood is that braid is going to dig into the wood. Anyone that's ever had braid dig into the wood knows that it'll get caught in the wood, and then next thing you know, the fish is all over the place, and typically they come off. And typically you got to go in and get your braid out of the wood. It'll get stuck in there. So that's why I've always flipped fluorocarbon around wood, and I tend to do okay with that. And then anytime I'm fishing grass, it's always braid. It doesn't matter if I'm fishing hydrilla that's in 8 feet of water and I'm flipping a 1 ounce jig, or I'm fishing in 2 feet of water and I'm punching mats, or any other thing in between. If there's grass, it's always going to be braid. Doesn't matter the water clarity, none of that, because I feel like braid around all that grass is the most natural presentation for the bass. And then you have all the upside of braid, landing your fish, setting the hook, and so on. Now, here's the deal with the FG knot that I've been playing with. I got off the water today. I've been flipping some docks here on Guntersville, fishing shallow wood, and I'm starting to realize that braid to fluorocarbon is the best possible thing you can do to fish wood shallow, because you have no stretch for, let's say, from your reel down to like 5 feet of where the fish is at. So that has a lot of control. And then you still get the upside of the fluorocarbon not getting caught in the wood. If you have 25-pound test, it's typically not going to break around the wood. There's a little bit of stretch, but not too much stretch. So you still have full control of the fish, and then enough stretch to where you're not ripping a huge hole in the fish's mouth. So that is a game changer for me, because I've never really been big on either one of those. You know, a lot of times when I'm out there fishing wood, I'm like, man, I wish I had a rod rigged up with braid. I'm just not, you know, getting a good hook in these fish. They're biting it weird. I'm not feeling them good. With this, the FG knot, you can feel the fish really good. You don't have to worry about the knot breaking. It's the strongest knot. It won't break. And then you still have the upside of the fluorocarbon. What I'm seeing is when I flip my bait in there, I'm looking at my braid sitting on the water, and then I start, you know, moving the bait a little bit, and next thing I know, you're seeing the braid go. And I'm still flipping this on a heavy action flipping rod. So I'm seeing a lot of guys, medium heavy rods. So they go down a power or a from heavy to medium heavy with their rods because of the braid. You know, you're going to have to downside your hooks and all these things because of the braid. But I find that if I just go with a bigger hook and a bigger rod, I can still fish that. So I'm going to have to go back to a lot of my Siwash hooks on my jigs. There's a few companies like the Gambler Jigzilla that puts a really strong braid hook in their jig. It's just an Arky style really good flipping jig. But you need braid with it because it is a bigger hook. And then I'm going to, flip with a full-size flipping hook. But I really like that. You don't have to set the hook real hard. You really just kind of pull into them. And when you're fishing around wood, that's typically what is going to break the fluorocarbon, is if your line is over the wood and you rear back and really yank on them and it hits that wood, it can break it. So instead, just reel down and just kind of pull. Don't jerk, just kind of pull, and you're going to hook them with that braid. So this is a game changer for me. Try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.